In 1963, Ford was preparing one of the biggest acquisitions in automotive history. The company wanted to buy Ferrari. Negotiations had lasted for months. Lawyers had reviewed the documents. Executives had traveled across the world. Everything seemed ready. But at the last moment, the deal collapsed. And what happened next would create one of the greatest rivalries in history. Ford and Ferrari. At the time, Ford was already one of the largest car manufacturers in the world. Its factories produced millions of vehicles. Its profits were enormous. Its name was recognized everywhere. But Ford had a problem. The company lacked excitement. Young people didn't dream about driving a Ford. When people thought about speed, prestige, and racing glory, they thought about Ferrari. Ferrari was different. It wasn't just a car company. It was a symbol of luxury, a symbol of performance, and most importantly, a symbol of victory. For years, Ferrari had dominated the world of motorsport, especially at the famous 24 Hours of Le Mans. Winning Le Mans wasn't just about speed. It was about proving that your company built the best cars in the world. Ford wanted that image, and instead of competing against Ferrari, the company decided to buy it. At first, the plan seemed perfect. Ferrari was facing financial difficulties. The company needed money to continue growing. Executives from Ford traveled to Italy. Meetings were held. Contracts were prepared. Everything appeared to be moving in the right direction. Then came the final review. Enzo Ferrari sat down to read the contract, page after page, clause after clause. Everything looked acceptable until he reached a section involving racing. According to the agreement, Ford would have influence over Ferrari's racing decisions. This might have been a reasonable compromise, but Enzo Ferrari wasn't most business owners. Racing was his life, it was his passion, and he wasn't willing to give anyone control over it. Not even Ford. The deal ended immediately. But that wasn't the worst part. According to the famous story, Ferrari personally insulted Ford during the final stages of the negotiations. Different versions of the story exist. When Henry Ford II learned what had happened, he was enraged. This was no longer about business. It had become personal. Ford could have walked away. The company could have focused on other opportunities. Instead, Henry Ford II made a decision. If Ford couldn't buy Ferrari, Ford would beat Ferrari, and not just anywhere, at Le Mans. The race Ferrari had dominated for years. The mission was simple. Build a car capable of defeating the king of motorsport, no matter the cost. Ford poured millions of dollars into the project. Engineers worked around the clock. Designs were tested. New technology was developed. Eventually, Ford created the GT40, a race car designed specifically to challenge Ferrari. The early results were terrible. Cars broke down. Engines failed. Races ended in disappointment. Ford spent millions. Meanwhile, Ferrari continued winning. The dream of revenge seemed impossible. Many people believed Ford should give up. Ford brought in a man named Carroll Shelby. Shelby was a former racing driver and one of the most respected minds in motorsport. He understood racing. He understood engineering. And most importantly, he understood how to win. Shelby rebuilt the program. He improved the GT40. He pushed the team harder than ever before. Slowly, the results began to change. The cars became faster, more reliable, more competitive. For the first time, Ferrari faced a serious threat. Then came 1966, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The race Ford had spent years preparing for. The race that would decide everything. Fans packed the circuit. Teams made final preparations. The world watched. Ferrari entered the race expecting another victory. But this time was different. Ford's GT40 was ready. Hour after hour, the race continued. Cars pushed to their limits. Drivers fought exhaustion. Mechanical failures eliminated competitors. Yet Ford remained strong. As the finish line approached, something incredible happened. Ford wasn't chasing Ferrari. Ford was leading. And when the race finally ended, Ford finished first. A complete domination. The company that had rejected Ford only a few years earlier had been defeated on the biggest stage in motorsport. What began as a business deal had become a battle of pride. Today, the rivalry between Ford and Ferrari remains one of the most famous stories in automotive history. Sometimes, the most powerful motivation isn't profit. It's proving someone wrong. And in 1966, Ford did exactly that.